It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Our Town, Hold On to Me, Darling, Drag the Musical, and Vladimir, plus an interview with Mark Nadler. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. And hello again, everyone. I am Charles Gross.
And I am the aforementioned Leslie Hoban Blake. And we have a lot to get to tonight, so we should really get started.
Absolutely. Our Town by Thornton Wilder, the quintessential American play, taking us back to a time that existed, or maybe it didn't, many, many years ago.
1903 to be precise, according to the script.
And this is a revival with Jim Parsons, Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, as the narrator. And it is simply delightful, as this show will be. It is now a multiracial cast, so it truly is Our Town. And as traditionally done, it's all pantomime with a minimum of scenery and props directed by
Which
Kenny
was very
Leon.
experimental at the time in 1938 that it was written, so there's it makes a full circle somehow.
Right. And we're shown three incidents in the town. Just one, a typical day. Second, the courtship of George and Emily, two young people who have grown up together, and they fall in love and they marry. And three, takes place mostly in the cemetery, where Emily has unfortunately died in childbirth, and she chooses to return to relive one day. And one thing that had occurred to me about Jim Parsons' narrator, just the narrator in general, when he interacts with the townspeople, it's in the guise of, say, a minister or a soda jerk, but when he's talking with the dead, and he does, he is himself, and he knows the past, present, the future, and I have to wonder, what is his story? Of course, he's the narrator. He doesn't have one, as my daughter reminded me, but...
Well, my sister said that she thought he was God. And he is omniscient, which, you know, he does know everything, and he's watching all the time. So that could very well be. Or I think it's one of those characters that you get to decide for yourself.
I agree.
But he does a lovely job. He really does.
He is very intense. I've never seen a narrator who's so intense. He's like, okay, it's like, I have so much to tell you. I have to tell you all of this. Okay, we need to move on. Go, 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 go.
Well, it's also the shortest Our Town I've ever seen, even though they haven't cut anything out.
Well, maybe that's why.
They get it done. There's no intermission. It's not an overly long play, and we've had several long plays tonight that we have to talk about. So it was kind of a pleasure in that sense, and then the acting was great. We have a couple of star names. We have, besides Jim Parsons, we have Katie Holmes playing Mrs. Webb, and her husband, Richard Thomas, plays Mr.
This is kind of
Webb.
a full circle for him, because he plays the town newspaper editor-publisher, so a whole circle from the Waltons.
And there's also Zoe Deutsch and Ephraim Sykes.
How can you not love Zoe Deutsch in this
Yeah,
role?
I liked her. My sister
she was
didn't.
great.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And then the diversified cast of families and friends.
Ephraim Sykes is George, the young man who marries Emily. And Michelle Wilson is his mother. It's a nice cast. It's a solidly done play. And it's a classic, but it's a classic that is still highly entertaining.
Well, yes, I will say this. I mean, the fact that Kenny Leon had the whatever it took to integrate Our Town, I thought this was a good production. My friend Gary, whom you know, will not watch me anymore if I say that, but I'm saying it anyway. He hated it. This has been divisive, this play, not because of the casting.
The production?
The production itself.
Okay, we have to move on, so how many playbills?
I would give it, what did I say before, 4.5?
I don't remember.
Well, 4.5.
Okay, well,
I'm being generous.
I'll go with 4.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on to me, darling. Darth Vader's grandson.
Oh, please.
Okay.
I preface this by saying that I adore Adam Driver, and I will go anywhere to see him do anything, including drink a soda or
But
brush his teeth.
did you enjoy him in this?
I'm prefacing this. That's why I'm saying that. Okay. Yes, I did, but no, okay. He plays Strings McCrane, who is the third biggest crossover star in country western music. This takes place in the spring of 2016. He is a completely narcissistic character. He goes home on the death of his mother, whom he has not seen in 10 years. He obviously had a love-hate relationship with her. He never He never felt that he did what she wanted him to, and he also never felt that she loved him enough. And that's the bulk of the thing.
Well, he decides he's going to be the kind of son his mother always wanted him to be.
First, he pisses and moans all over the
So what
place.
does he do? Well, he starts off by sleeping with a woman who comes to give him a massage, a masseuse, who is married and has 2 children. Then at his mother's funeral, he hooks up with a distant cousin and ends up sleeping with her while moaning for about an hour how he wants to live a normal life.
No, he pisses and moans about everything, and he has no.
Well, he pissed me off.
Well, I know he did. He's an id looking for an ego, is what he is. He has no sense of self-value, no matter how much money he has. He actually goes to his little assistant, played by Keith Nobbs, who's in love with him, who just hangs on his every word and does everything he asks him to, and doesn't even notice him. He just, do this, do that. How do you think? Do I look okay? What's going on? Anyway, he'll listen to anybody.
And finally, he shucks his career, and he's being sued for $400 million because there's a movie that he walked off of and an album he walked off of. He buys this stunky little feed store. His brother comes in as his partner. He marries the masseuse, very nicely played by Heather Burns, by the way.
And the cousin is very nicely played by Adelaide Clemson, who is, go ahead.
Clemens, yeah, who has the good sense to say, no more.
Well, we don't want to spoil that. I mean, we don't want to tell everything that happens.
Right.
But he also has a brother who,
Yes.
with whom he's estranged, and yet he goes in with on the feed store with his brother.
Right. And the whole thing is just too long. To the character, yes, Adam Driver plays it well, but who cares?
It's a revival.
He's not an interesting character.
It's not the first time, and I'm upset that it wasn't rewritten or changed or shortened in the time between 2016 when it was done,
Right.
with Timothy Oliphant in the lead, and now here it is, and it's the same play,
Yeah.
with many of the same characters. I want to know why they didn't let Adam Driver sing. Go on YouTube, watch him sing Alive from Company, and you will wonder why he didn't sing. There is no singing.
I will tell you what I really liked about this
Yes.
play is that his String's estranged father shows up. They haven't seen each other in many years, and Frank Wood comes in. It's at the end of the play.
On page 100 of 109 pages.
And he gives this amazing monologue. It's been so long since I've seen anything that really just struck me like this. And I keep thinking, wow. I mean, was it worth like going through 2 hours
Not
for this?
really.
No, it wasn't. But why couldn't the rest of the play have been like this, or even remotely like this, or why couldn't they have cut half of it out?
It's not just it's a tonal shift, and that's the problem. The rest of the play is played as a comedy, whether it's meant
Oh, it
to or
was?
not. Oh yeah,
Okay.
everybody laughs.
Really?
Well, the audience was laughing. We were at the same performance, so the audience was laughing, and whether they were supposed to or not. And after a while, you got to. After a while, you began to laugh at things that might not have been funny, but everybody else
They
was
weren't.
laughing. Okay, and what happens is suddenly when Frank Wood
We
comes
have to
in,
move on.
we're
so-
serious,
yes.
and that tonal shift.
And I think the play would have worked better as a drama, and I will give it 2.5 playbills. That's out of 5.
It might have been.
5
Well,
being
I
the
would
best.
I'll give Adam Driver 5, but I'll give the play 2.5. I think that's about
well,
right.
I'll give Frank Wood a Drama Desk Award if he's nominated.
Yes,
I'll tell you
I
that.
agree with you. He was excellent.
And now for something completely different. Drag, the musical, which is anything but. And of course, when we say drag, we are talking about drag. So this is full of neon. Do you remember when Broadway had neon? I miss neon on Broadway. Outlandish, over-the-top costumes, wigs everywhere. And of course, some popular drag themes, many of whom you may know from RuPaul, or just if you're into drag, you may know them. And of course,
You do remember La Cage aux Folles, right? I mean, you know.
I do.
Okay.
But this is even more over the top.
Well, yes.
I mean, this makes La Cage aux Folles look like, I don't know, where's Charlie? Let's,
Waitress.
you know. Anyway.
No,
so
that's
it's,
got drag too. He runs around and plays the ant.
yes, I know.
Oh, you did that on purpose.
But
Oh.
it's not.
It's small. by
It's hardly
comparison. Yes, okay.
flamboyant, you know, like this is.
Ah, that's the word
And
you're looking for,
yes,
flamboyant,
and
okay.
it's full of witchiness and rivalry. There are 2 drag clubs, the Fishbowl.
Both alike.
Yes, both alike, both run by these queens, and there is a rivalry. Apparently, that we cannot talk about, they will not talk about, they will never talk about, but of course they do. And both clubs are failing. So, you know what? You're going to probably figure out how this ends within 10 minutes. But who cares?
It's very short. It doesn't run that much more than 10 minutes. It's about 90 minutes, but it was blessedly short for what it was.
And we see the ladies perform, and we see the rivalry. It centers mostly on the fishbowl, who is headed by Alexis, that's played by Nick Adams. Her rival is Puss Puss.
No, her rival is Kitty Galloway.
Sorry, Kitty Galloway, excuse me. By Alaska Thunder something or another.
Yes, very famously known from RuPaul.
Yes.
Many of these queens are from RuPaul, by the way.
Right. And you're just going to have a lot of fun with this.
Well, I will name a few of those queens.
Okay.
Laguna Blue, Luxmore London, Jujubee. I think those may be the best known of them. In addition to that, we have Joey McIntyre playing a cis-straight man who, Joey McIntyre was one of the kids on the block, the new kids on the block.
Bottom line is, it's fun. And if you like drag, you're going to have a good time. It's just done so well.
The audience was over the top. The audience, which was, by the way, a full house on a Sunday night, the audience at New World Stages.
But not more over the top than what was on stage.
No, I know.
Nothing
but
is ever going to be more on top than that, over the top than that.
And the whole cast knew to whom they were playing.
Oh, yes.
And by the way, it was a mixed cast. I mean, it's not as if everybody was, nobody was wearing feather boas in the audience. This was an audience.
Right.
And
Thomas Costanza, Justin Andrew Honard, and Ashley Gordon wrote the show. Spencer Lift directed and choreographed it.
And I understand Spencer Lift went directly to Alaska Thunder, her name. I would say it, but he won't let me. And so that this was written for her, and also Nick Adams, who has more muscles than anybody besides Popeye. He is
Even more than Adam Driver?
Even more than Adam Driver. He's a bodybuilder, obviously. I mean, he's got really.
That is actually alluded to in the play.
Yeah. He's.
By the way.
He does not look like a lady.
And who cares?
But he sings like a lady, and he wears a wig well, so, it all works out very well.
Yes, it works out very well. And so for what it is, I will give it 4 playbills. If you're not into this sort of thing, don't waste your time.
I will mention also Eddie Corbett, who at one point played Tobias in, I think, the second or first revival of Sweeney Todd, is here. Not playing drag. He's playing
Drunk Jerry.
Drunk Jerry, right.
Who plays a pivotal role in the play, but we can't talk about it, even though you will probably guess it.
I love that word, pivotal. Okay.
How many playbills will you give it?
Oh, I would give this 4-ish.
Okay. We have just...
What did you give it?
I gave it 4.
Oh, okay.
For what it is.
For what it is, right.
We have just enough time to talk about Vladimir.
Oh, well, Vladimir, I think, is a very important play. That Vladimir, and you can guess who Vladimir might be. What Vladimir do we all know besides Count Dracula? So it is Mr. Putin, he whose name
who
shall
does not
be
appear
taken.
in the show, but whose presence
is very much there.
Yes,
we know he's there every minute. In your bedroom, in your living room, in your kitchen, he's always there.
It's 1984, my friends.
And it's written by a young woman named Erika Scheffer, who actually lived through something very similar. She wrote a play called Russian Transport that we saw off Broadway a couple of years ago. And she kind of mines her own, not mines, M-I-N-E-S, mines her own life for this material. And so we're getting a look at things.
So very quickly, this is a reporter and an accountant trying to solve the mystery of why a multimillionaire businessman who was his identity was stolen, and somehow he got these massive tax refunds from the Russian government, but the Russian government doesn't care. And the reason is because it was the Russian government.
So we need to say that Rhea is the reporter.
Right.
Her live-in lover, not her husband, but her live-in lover is Kostya, who
I don't think they live together, but he's also her editor.
Well, he is her editor, but they are a couple. They're a couple, so.
Sort of.
No, they're a couple.
Norbert Leo Butz plays...
Norbert Leo Butz plays Kostya.
Right.
David Rosenberg plays Yevgeny, who is the bookkeeper. Francesca Faridani plays
is the
Rhea.
reporter. And it's not a good time to be a muckraking reporter in Russia.
Well, they start out, he's got a little newspaper, and he muckrakes, just as you say, he muckrakes. But that goes over not so well, and he's enticed away from it. She's a hardcore. She doesn't want to leave what she's doing.
Right.
But he's enticed
and
up
she
to
ends
the
up
big
being
time.
poisoned, and she kind of knows that it's going to happen, because when it does happen, her daughter, her college-age daughter, is with her.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, I was hoping this wouldn't happen in front of you." And it's just as well that it did, because the daughter manages to save her life.
But she knew that it would be something, whether she'd be shot or run over or,
This is very well played. Olivia Dern-Nikkanen as the daughter. And it's a solid drama.
Very much so. Very much so. Quite well written. Very well, I mean, all of the theses work out in it. Francesca Farindani, I think, is quite amazing, because the changes that she has to go through in the play. Norbert Leo Butz goes from being a sort of a putz to being a bigger putz. It's basically what, well, Butz the putz, what can I say? Or just said
Well,
it, I guess.
it's better than being poisoned, because the reporter ends up seeking asylum in America. The accountant who just can't let it go, even after his boss says, "Let it go.
Yes.
I know they, went down. They did this to me. I don't care. I still have too many business interests."
Well, I think we know that even coming to America is not far enough away. Because that plane blew up with the guy who led the insurrection against him. He has his ways. Daniel Sullivan does a lovely job. It's a one-set stage, in the sense that all of the things are played in different compartments on the same set, and you just very easily go back and forth. You don't have to. They don't have to change anything. It moves quickly, and it has a good sense of suspense. And I thought it was worth definitely a 4.5.
I would go with 3 3/4.
Really?
But I also enjoyed this play.
Well, I thought it was well written, well directed, well acted. I liked it a lot.
And now it is time for our interview with Mark Nadler.
We're sitting outside of Here, that's Here, not here, but Here, the theater in Hudson Square Park, just about to speak with the co-star and co-composer, and the musical director of the Christine Jorgensen story, a revival of the story of the first known transgender person in America back in the 50s, and it is Mark Nadler. We are looking at Mark Nadler. we have not seen Mark Nadler on our show since I'm a stranger here myself. So here you go.
All right. Well, welcome, Mark.
It's great to be here.
And what inspired you to do this show?
I was asked. It was actually, I didn't write it. A man named Donald Stephen Olson wrote the play. It's a 2-character play, and he actually wrote the part with me in mind. And when he told me that, I mean, you don't turn that down.
Right.
And because it was written for me, he wrote it so that I get to do all of the things I do. So in this play, I act, of course, but I play the piano, I sing, I tap dance, I do all of the things all of my skills. And I haven't had a part that utilizes all of my skills.
What's left for Christine to do?
Well, first of all, you obviously are not playing Christine.
I am not playing Christine Jorgensen. I wanted to, but she didn't tap dance, so they gave me another part.
So who are you in the play?
Well, do you know who Christine Jorgensen was?
Well, yes, as Leslie just said, she was the first known trans person.
Right. She
nightclub
was the
performer.
First trans celebrity. So in 1953, Christine Jorgensen came back from Denmark as a woman. She went to Denmark. The New York Daily News headline was, "XGI comes back as beautiful blonde." And overnight, she was the most famous person in the world for what she had done in 1953. And she couldn't get a job. So a manager signed her and convinced her to put together a nightclub act so that the manager could cash in on her celebrity. And he hired this down and out alcoholic song and dance man to teach her how to sing and dance and help her put together a nightclub act and to co-star in the act with her, because she couldn't sing, she couldn't dance, and so they needed something on stage that was going to entertain the people other than just the
Novelty.
Novelty, yeah, exactly. And so I play that guy.
I'm assuming the alcoholic part was not part of the typecasting for you.
Well, then you assume wrong.
Oh, okay. Well,
Stop being your wife. Yes, that's that kind of question. But Mark, we haven't seen you for a while. What were you doing between this? I mean, I know you work with KT Sullivan and
I haven't worked with KT in a long time, actually,
sorry.
Leslie. KT was my co-star at the Algonquin. We did 6 shows together at the Algonquin. We were regulars there. And then when the Algonquin closed in 2010, I started doing my own thing a lot. And that's when I did I'm a Stranger Here myself in 2012.
which we loved. We had you on for
Thank
that.
you. And yeah, that was nominated for Domadesk and won all sorts of awards. And I did that show a lot internationally.
Oh wow!
And even was nominated for the equivalent of the Tony Award in Australia called the Helpman Award for that show. The Jewish songwriters were being imprisoned or exiled. The American Jewish songwriters were glorified. That's Dietz and Schwartz. Howard Dietz not only wrote these songs that were being sung around the world, Howard Dietz also was a publicist for MGM. Howard Dietz created this. He created that. Well, somebody had to have created it. It was Howard Dietz. There's a show I do in France that it's about a woman named Gaby Delis, who was the first megastar, international megastar, and nobody knows who she is anymore. The Winter Garden was created for her. And we just did that show in Paris last year, and I was nominated for the Parisian Tony Award. It's called the Trophée de Théâtre Musical.
Wow.
yeah. Okay. How did they refer to a trans person? I'm assuming they didn't use the term trans back in the 50s.
You know, that's a really good question, and I'm sure they didn't use the word trans. And I don't know how they, or even if they referred to it. I mean, what they said was she had, they didn't call it gender reassignment surgery. They said she had a sex change. That's how they talked about it. And of course, the whole point, which this play explains so beautifully and so gently, is that no, it's not a sex change, because the whole point is that she was always a woman. She was never a boy. She was never a man. It's just she had boy body parts. And as my co-star Jesse James Keitel, who is an extraordinary trans actor and very well known. Jesse has done Star Trek and Queer as Folk and a show called Big Sky. Anyway, Jesse explained to me that it's not about who you sleep with. It's about who you sleep as. And that just made it make perfect sense for me. And that's what our show does, I think, so well, is it makes it very gently, makes it make sense. My character, Miles, at the beginning of the play, I think of him as a singing, dancing Archie Bunker. He's a guy in 1953. What does he know? And by the end of the play, she has gently opened his heart, and he understands who and what she is and honors her and values her for that. And that's the beauty of the play. He opens her voice, she opens his heart.
Wow. Mark, it's so amazing to me, and you may not have the answer to this one either, that between 1953 and whenever we all began to hear the word transgender, there were no people having this kind of sex change operation, which is what they were calling
reassignment surgery. Of course,
yes.
there were. There were lots and lots and lots and lots of them. I knew plenty of them, but they weren't famous.
Ah, I see.
You know, and even
right.
there are some very, very famous transgender people from the 90s, from the 2000s,
Yes. Okay.
plenty. But I mean, Christine was performing in the New York City nightclubs right up into the 80s. There's a wonderful, if you want to Google it, there's a wonderful interview that she did in the late 70s with Tom Snyder when she was playing at Freddy's. Do you remember Freddy's?
Sure, I remember Freddy's.
And she sings Falling in Love Again, of course, Marlene Dietrich, and she talks to Tom Snyder very frankly about the whole thing, which she always did. That was one of the things that was so extraordinary about this woman. She lectured in the universities She worked with Dr. Kinsey on the Kinsey Report. She was a very important figure in the evolution of in our evolution of understanding the trans community.
What I find very interesting is you say, here you have this talented, famous for being famous person, so what do they give her a nightclub act? Which, to me, says things really haven't changed. I think maybe today they give her a reality show.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, you know, this is in the 50s when the Vegas clubs were the place. I mean, you were making buckets of money with nightclub acts at that time. And so, yeah, that was a perfect way to cash in on her celebrity. Television was barely a baby at that point, so nightclubs was the way to go.
And television probably wasn't ready for her in 53.
Well, in fact, the real Christine Jorgensen was banned from television. She was absolutely banned from television.
What's coming up for you?
This play.
Okay.
I'm telling you, this is all I'm doing. It's a big off-Broadway run. We did it earlier in the year at 59 East 59th, and it was so successful there, we've moved it to a bigger theater. We're at the Here Arts Center. I just want to hold up my little postcard one more time, because it's called the Christine Jorgensen Show. Here, I keep that. Christine Jorgensen Show. Can you get it?
We'll have pictures and
Oh, great.
photographs.
And there it is.
Okay.
And we're at the Here Arts Center, which is on 6th Avenue, 3 blocks south of Houston Street, and the entrance is on Dominic Street. And I happen to love that because my husband's name is Dominic.
Ah, well, there you go. We thank you so much for being with us tonight. And now the lights go on. We've been doing this in the dark, and now the lights
Dancing in the dark till the show ends. We're dancing in the dark till the glow ends.
That is worth everything, seeing the two of you dance. Okay, on that note, we hope to see you again. I hope that is there a possibility?
Sid Charisse, eat your heart out.
Yes. Is there a possibility of getting this thing extended?
There's a possibility.
Or moved,
Let's
or
all buy tickets.
Yes,
We're
let's
running
all.
right now through November 17th, 8 times a week. And if it's enough of a success, you bet it'll be extended.
Good. Okay. Lovely to see you again.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm
I'm so happy to dance with you.
My pleasure. And that is our show for this evening. And when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us two.
On the aisle. Sometimes together, sometimes not together. Last night we were together at drag.
We were, but we were dressed normally.
Yeah, we were just normally.
I think she's coming, yeah, I think she's coming. I think she's coming, the queen, she's coming.
I'm the queen, the epitome of nobility. And Cleopatra ain't got nothing on me. A ruler divine, the kingdom's mine.